BBC Channel Islands, these are Friday's headlines. The end of the 11+ in Guernsey. Huge change voted in by a narrow margin. So what now for the island's grammar school?
Disappointed that we're going to lose a fine school, but up for the challenge of delivering something that the states have now decided that what they want.
And as pressure on public services builds, are the states relying too much on charities to fill the gap? Plus, the season of goodwill, how your donated hampers are bringing vulnerable islanders some festive cheer.
And we have a milder night to come and a milder start to the day tomorrow. A bit grey at first, but brightening up. Breezy on Sunday. I'll have all the details later in the programme.
Good evening, I'm Luxmy Gopal. Guernsey's government has voted to abolish the 11+. The previous government had also voted to scrap it, but the issue was put back up for debate after the election earlier this year. Today's vote was close, 21-19, and as Mike Wilkins reports, the decisions prompted anger among some parents and pupils.
I can declare that the voting on the proposition was pour 19, conch 21. I declare the proposition lost.
The moment Guernsey's new government voted to scrap selection at 11. But a short hop from the States building and the news was greeted with dismay by parents and pupils at the grammar school.
Many people voted for them on the basis of the education debate and what way they were going to vote, and they've actually changed their minds, and so I've got absolutely no confidence in the States anymore.
I worked really hard to get to this school and they have to do nothing, just live close to it and get to it.
I think it's quite a hasty decision, and they haven't really, well, from what I know, they haven't really sort of shown what they're going to do now, or like what their ideas are, and the fact that they're not going to have the selection process, so what is going to be put in place instead.
In his first media interview after the vote, the president of the Committee for Education, Sport and Culture told me he had no intention of resigning.
Disappointed that we're going to lose a fine school, but up for the challenge of delivering something that the states have now decided that what they want.
You say up for the challenge. Some people are saying, are you going to resign from the board?
Are they? No one's asked me yet. I will obviously discuss matters with the board. At the moment, I haven't considered it, no.
For the man championing an end to the 11+, he says the Education Committee should be allowed to continue as it is.
I've been very, very impressed with Paul's leadership, and you've got to remember, he allowed me on the committee. He was very open-minded, allowed a non-selective person to come on his committee and to become vice president and to promote my view to the extent that it split the committee.
So a day of drama, but many questions still remain, including how many schools will be required, the future of Lamar Carteret schools and whether they should be rebuilt, the future of the grammar school, not to mention the role of the island's colleges. Mike Wilkins, BBC Channel Islands News, Guernsey.
In other news, unmarried fathers in Jersey now have the same legal rights as married ones. A new law has come into force in the island which gives dads automatic parental responsibility regardless of marital status. Until now, dads who weren't married or who had a baby before marriage had to have a written agreement with the child's mother to have a say in the child's upbringing.
For the first time, they'll be able to make decisions about things like what school does the child go to, where does the child live in terms of Jersey or elsewhere. So some really important decisions that now need to be made jointly with the mum, as opposed to just by the mum on her own.
Technology and organic farming could be the solution to reducing the amount of nitrates and pesticides in Jersey waters. High levels of the chemicals used on fields were found in the island's water supply earlier this year. Farmers have been working with Jersey Water and the government to prevent more contamination. They gathered today at a conference to look into alternative farming methods.
It comes at a much higher cost, of course, but farmers have to realise that they have to work within the environment, and they're going to have to swallow some of these costs. It may mean some farmers will go out of business, but that's the way it goes.
We still rely on a traditional method over here, but we can look to new methods, new techniques in the future, and certainly we've heard this morning from one farming company how they will be using satellite technology.
A review's begun in Guernsey after it was revealed the redesign of Salary Corner cost £80,000 more than expected. The project, prompted by the death of a cyclist, had been estimated at £50,000, but the final bill was £130,000. Deputy Barry Breho says the review will try to find out why initial estimates were so inaccurate. A man's been jailed in Jersey for trying to smuggle £60,000 worth of cannabis into the island. 29-year-old Nicolae Gavan from Romania was stopped by customs officers on arriving on the boat from St Malo in August. Gavan, described in court as previously of good character, was jailed for 21 months and will be deported at the end of his sentence. Now, this week we've been hearing about the crucial work done in Guernsey by autism charities. The island's government is relying more and more on the charitable sector to meet demand for services. But can a system that depends so much on donations survive into the future? Roisin Gawson has this report.
A small team of charity workers provide vital support for people with autism in Guernsey. It's part of the state's vision for the future as budgets get ever tighter.
We work very closely with Autism Guernsey and with the National Autistic Society. They provide a whole range of information and support to people, and without that we would struggle hugely. The future goal is for the states, I think, to be able to commission more effectively those sorts of charitable organisations rather than the states providing everything themselves.
But providing information and support comes at a cost.
The amount of time and effort that charities have to put in to actually raising money takes away from the time we can actually deliver services.
It's an all too familiar challenge for Autism Guernsey.
Probably a year ago or so, we were getting to a point as a board where we were saying, look, we need to be thinking carefully about the future and how we maintain that sustainability.
The charity was launched 5 years ago to plug the gap in services for people with autism in Guernsey, but there's still more that needs to be done.
At the moment, we service over 150 adults on the autism spectrum, but we have a waiting list of 40 people, and that's due to, unfortunately, me having to clamp down the screws on the finances and ensuring that our part-time staff are only working for the hours that we can afford to pay them for.
The estimated cost of delivering all the services which are needed in Guernsey is £350,000 a year. Despite a number of fundraising initiatives, it's always going to be an uphill struggle. So should the states contribute more?
We need to keep on having those conversations, and hopefully in time we can look at doing a sort of a double approach where we get the fundraising as we currently do, but then also get some help and assistance from the states going forward.
And as the states looks to rely more on charities in future, it looks like something will need to give soon. Roisin Gawson, BBC Channel Islands News, Guernsey.
Now, here's a story to remind us of the true spirit of Christmas. You may remember popping items like these into donation boxes throughout the year. Well, now, in the run-up to Christmas, Age Concern has turned those donations into hampers for Jersey's older residents. Chris Harrison has been to take a look.
Tinned foods, tea and coffee, pasta and puddings. It's things like this that go into Christmas hampers for Jersey's elderly.
So we make sure that the dates are right. Sure. That there's a good shelf life in them.
Age Concern is busy making sure over 300 hampers go out in time for Christmas for those that need the help.
There is a need. We have an ageing population, a much older population now. They do need the help, and we are collecting and making sure that they get something they can put on their shelves for winter months. Everything's within date. This is what we want, to give them food that will help them.
And it's thanks to islanders who donated a little of their shopping that make the difference. At this time of year, Age Concern are about delivering more than just food.
To let people know they are loved and cared for, and they are not alone. They are the forgotten few in this island. Many of the older people are forgotten. We try to make them our extended family, and that's what we're hoping to do this Christmas again.
The hampers will be handed out this month. Chris Harrison, BBC Channel Islands News, Jersey.
Well, time for the weather now. It's been a bit milder today than it has been recently, but the question is, for those of us scurrying into town this weekend for some Christmas shopping, how wrapped up will we need to be? Well, the man with the answer is David Brain, who's here with our weather. David, will we have to layer up tomorrow?
I think so, Luxmy. The problem we've got through the weekend is we do have some slightly higher temperatures. But the problem we've got is a strengthening easterly wind. That's going to be a feature of the weather. Tomorrow is definitely a milder start, less frost around overnight tonight. It's a bit grey at first, and then the sunshine will come out, but at the same time the winds become quite lively, easterly winds. What's happening is the area of high pressure is just beginning to move away from us a little bit. This little weather front here just trickles past us tomorrow morning. Once it clears, we should get more in the way of sunshine, and an area of low pressure down here gets a little bit closer over the next 24 hours or so through Sunday and into Monday. Thereafter we get southerly winds, so we are going to see temperatures starting to pick up as we start to see milder air come up from the south. There's a great grey blanket of cloud at the moment through the English Channel, across the islands too. I think later on tonight that cloud may break in a few places, but on the whole it's a cloudy night, and with the blanket of cloud it won't be quite as cold as it has been. Still pretty chilly, and with a freshening easterly breeze, not an overly warm evening, that's for sure. 5 or 6 degrees the minimum temperature, probably frost free. Tomorrow we've got the cloud around in the morning, but quite quickly it'll break up. The sunshine will come out, and actually it's quite a nice day, but not overly warm. 9 degrees, but throw in a lively easterly wind. It's going to feel a lot colder than that, so you will need to wrap up warmly. There's our times of high water. Maslin Pier is at 8:25 and 20:45. Not much for our surfers, many of our beaches just having a half a foot to a foot in clean. Any east-facing shoreline, though, likely to be quite choppy with those onshore winds. And they will be quite strong. Easterly force 4 to 5, but increasing 5 to 6 later in the day. Generally fair with good visibility. So on to the outlook. A smashing day on Sunday. Sunday's not going to be very warm, 7-8 degrees the top temperature. Windy with southeast winds, but a lovely day with some sunshine to enjoy. Then through Monday and Tuesday, rather more cloud comes our way, and those southerly winds I talked about will finally get the temperatures back into double figures. Have a nice weekend. Luxmy.
Thanks very much, David. So, scarves and gloves at the ready for Christmas shopping this weekend. Well, that's it from BBC Channel Islands for now. I'll be back with your headlines at 8. Hope you can join me then. In the meantime, have a lovely evening.